Hi, and welcome back to the Work-Life Balance Summit, Design a Faith-Fueled Life. I'm Staci Witten, and today I am super excited to be here with Cathy Nolan. Cathy is a caricaturist and an artist and has been illustrating many faces and bringing so much joy with her art for over 20 years. Her passion for art and people are combined in her method of drawing faces and capturing the essence of her subjects, whether they are adults, children, or pets. And you and I met about a year ago, almost a year ago, last May, at a Kim Garst event. And I was just fascinated with your background and some of the projects you worked on. Can you share some of those projects?
Yes. Well, first of all, it's wonderful to be here with you, Staci, and I'm so excited to be part of this awesome summit that you're hosting. And so thank you. And yeah, so some of the projects I've worked on, I've been drawing all my life. And recently, last November, I drew for ABC News national election. I started out drawing for the primaries back in April, and pre-drew like all the political candidates. And then it went so well and so smoothly in Times Square, New York City, where I live, that they were like, we want you back for the national election. So that was just really a fun highlight of my career, where it was live streamed on ABC News. And I would just draw and interview people and ask them to share their stories about who were they voting for and why. And that was just a fantastic experience and really, really greatly received. And then also, I'm really proud to say I was part of the pilot group for Mario Armstrong's Never Settle show, which was the very first web platform TV show where in real time, they used social media during a live TV broadcast. And I was drawing not only caricatures of the guests, such as Al Roker and Damon John and a few other prominent entrepreneurs, but also I would draw out the interviews on this big foam board. We call it graphic facilitation or recording. And what's so exciting is because of the pilot program, which I was part of, and the team worked really great together. And Mario is just an awesome like TV personality, and his wife Nicole's great. They've been nominated for 2 Emmys for Best Host and Best Web Interactive Live TV Show. And the Emmys are coming up around the corner. So those are some of the projects I've been working on. And of course, I have a gig coming up Sunday at Macy's Flower Show here in Herald Square, Times Square, where I have to draw kids. So I do have a lot of corporate clients I work with and draw them, and it's been really fun.
Wow, it sounds like so much opportunity that you've had, and the elections were just amazing, and then all this other stuff that's happened has been wonderful.
Thank you.
So I know you're probably super busy.
I am. I do have a hectic schedule.
So, well, let me preface something real quick. She's drawing me in the background, and I'm just fascinated that she can do this.
Thank you.
And you'll learn why here in a few minutes, why she can do this. But so how do you live more intentionally to achieve that balanced life since you are so busy?
Well, I try to focus on my mission, which is to bring joy to people with my artwork and help people empower themselves, being their best selves. And I feel like through my art, I'm able to capture the essence of who the person is. And so how do I balance my crazy life? Because I do live a crazy life. I travel all the time. Every day is a different day. Being a creative person, creative people think very differently than analytical business people. We think outside of the box, and we also just sometimes go with the flow with things. But what I try to do to balance my work and life balance is I try to at least, what top 3 things do I need to get done today? And that helps me focus, and it helps me. I usually like to make a list every morning of top 3 things. And then I just make sure I focus only on that one thing to get that one particular thing done, because it's so easy to get distracted with social media and with other things, reading blogs, watching videos. We have so much content thrown at us nowadays. It's very easy now to get distracted. They actually said that humans now, the attention span of a goldfish is 6 seconds, and humans now it's down to 8 seconds for our attention span. That's how much stuff is being thrown at us, stimuli and stuff. So I also meditate every morning for 20 minutes. I do transcendental meditation, and that is a great way to really center yourself and be calm, and then just help you stay focused throughout the day, which has really greatly helped me to achieve really great things in my career. So I'm a big component of meditation, having that quiet time in your morning, and then just asking yourself, okay, what top 3 things do I have to get done today, and what are the priorities? And then, if the laundry needs to get done or the dogs need to get walked, every 60 minutes I'll take a break to get out and moving, and everybody should do that, because it's so easy to be in front of the computer and just focus. So and then forget that you need to move. And sometimes when I'm on a walk with my dogs, that's when the best ideas come in. Or if you're thinking of how to deal with a client issue, just movement can really help with that balance also.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I find that too. It's just, we can get stuck behind the computer for hours at a time if we're not careful, or whatever project we're working on.
And that's not good for your work balance, It's not, because then you're forgetting to do your life stuff, or if you're too focused on work, other things fall away. Like we don't take care of ourselves health-wise or spiritual-wise, or it's a challenge for an entrepreneur to manage all those aspects of our lives.
Mm-hmm. It is. You have to be intentional and break it down by priorities, I think. But no matter what, I think health needs to be right there with work, because it's getting up and moving, even as simple as that. So, what is your biggest obstacle as you try to achieve it?
Well, being a creative person, there's too many things I want to do. And so that's been my biggest challenge, is how do I just, one thing at a time. And I also want things done now, whereas my husband always reminds me, Rome was not built in a day, okay? And it's so true. You can't eat a whole elephant. It has to be one bite at a time. And I forget that. So that's been my biggest challenge is, sometimes it'll take me longer to get certain things done, but just knowing that I'm making that progress and reminding ourselves, how far have we come from a year ago or from 6 months ago? We always forget to do that. We always forget to look how far I've come. Even though I'm not quite there yet at the final destination where I want to be, I have achieved this and this, or I have learned this and this and this. So for me, that's something I'm still working on, is not having too high expectations and just, being celebratory of what I have been able to accomplish, and then reminding myself of that. I think we all need to remind ourselves, wow, look at all the people we've helped or inspired, or, helped get results with our product or our service, and reminding ourselves that, we do make a difference with people's lives. Sometimes it's hard to think that way when you're working all the time by yourself or in your office, and that can happen. So that's something that I find challenging. And also, like I said, having the creative mindset, sometimes we are a little bit all over the place because our ideas just spin and everything. So that's why every morning I really work hard to try to do my top 3 priorities. And if it gets done, it gets done. If it doesn't, tomorrow's another day. As long as it's done by the end of the week, that's making progress.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I know you and I've talked about it before, but I'm an artist at heart, and being able.
What art do you do?
Yeah, well, I have done watercolors and
I love watercolors.
sketching. I was actually an art major.
You're kidding.
No, I majored in fashion design.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yes, and I love creating, and I make jewelry, I do all kinds of stuff, but I found that I was better, for me, it was better for during my career when I was working in the corporate world that I kind of hold that off for fun, my hobby and my special interest and my outlet
Mm-hmm.
versus generating revenue and being able to, I had a heart for helping people, and that's how I got into human resources. So,
Which is great. Well, one
yeah.
of the things I did when I worked in corporate was there would be this big joke at the office. I was a coordinator at a publishing house here in New York City many years ago when I was younger. And the joke at the office, I'd always promote my caricature work at the office. And so I always allowed my creative side to shine, even though I was very organized and I know how to I worked in product development as well as in licensing. And so, I was very organized and really great at coordinating things and making things happen. But the joke at the office was, oh, we know what Cathy's real job is, because I would get commissions to draw my employees or people that I worked for. Even like the CEO, I was commissioned to draw him. So it was, it's just funny how you can, even if you are creative, you can still incorporate that in your everyday work life.
Mhm.
Let people know that you do watercolors when you work in the HR department, or let people know you make hats and knit things. And that's a great way to you still do your job, your 9 to 5 job, but let people know that this is a side hustle you're doing. And not only does it bring you extra income, you don't know who your colleagues know who can maybe help you also. So that's just something that I wanted to share because we all have that creative side. And I strongly believe that, we do need to showcase that creative side more often. And there are a lot of people who make good money being creative.
Mhm.
And you can even incorporate that with helping people like you do, Staci.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that. Everyone does have a creative side. And I've seen it in the most analytical people. Um, but they're, having that confidence to really express themselves and um, kind of step out of their comfort zone and show that creative side is risky sometimes, and they fear doing that.
Yeah, because it's the corporate world,
Right.
like everybody, I get it. Like everybody's like so professional and corporate. And, I was here on 9/11 when 9/11 happened. And what was frightening for me on that day, we got to work and we were south of 14th Street, and seeing all my colleagues scared, crying, sobbing was impactful for me. And having CNN on, like, it felt like Armageddon that day, but just seeing the human, like, not human, that's the wrong word, but this other component of ourselves from my colleagues at work, it was very like, wow, like powerful, because we are so afraid to show those aspects of ourselves in the corporate environment, because we're afraid of being judged, we're afraid of being looked down upon, we're afraid of looking weird or having people gossip about us at the water cooler. But this is where you have to really be who you really are, because if you really showcase who you really are and showing off that creative side, you're going to inspire other people. Maybe not outwardly, you may not pick up on that, but don't kid yourself. By having that bravery of showing your creative side in that corporate environment, not being afraid to speak up, not being afraid to be like, hey boss, if you know of anybody who needs some watercolor paintings, this is what I do. People are people. And I think, don't be afraid to show that approach to somebody at the workplace, because it just also showcases who you really are, and that's going to shine through. And if somebody at the workplace doesn't appreciate it, they're just not the right person to, there's different folks for strokes for different folks. So
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Totally makes
Yeah.
sense. Totally
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, I'm glad you shared that because I think that is an obstacle that a lot of people face.
But it's understandable, because there's this like code of conduct you have to have in corporate. I get it, you know. I've been in corporate. So, but I guess I was never afraid to show who I really was. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as long as you know you do your job well and get results for your boss, why not be showing off those other aspects of yourselves? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what I think most people care about. Like, can you get the job done and get the results, and are you deadline oriented and make me as your boss look good? And if you can, then don't hesitate to showcase that creative part of yourself
Mm-hmm.
and your side hustle. Why not? You know, you have nothing to lose and it could be more income for you. I made a lot of income on the side when I worked in corporate doing the caricature work. And I've actually had executives hire me for their big promotional campaigns and stuff too. So, you know, I earned like an extra 15 grand when I was working. So you never know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why the joke was, oh, we know what Cathy's real job is. But,
Yeah.
and I did it subtly. I was just like, hey, you know, I mean, I guess it just showed through that I loved doing this. I loved drawing people. And when you show and share that passion of yours, whatever that is, people will pick up on it and take up on your offer. You just have to be willing to offer it too.
Totally agree with you. Cannot totally agree with you. So, how do you feel your expertise contributes to your work-life balance?
Well, my expertise is in drawing and interviewing people, talking to people. And I guess with my expertise, how does it help with my work-life balance? That was the question, right?
Uh-huh.
Let me think about that. So as I do your hair, I guess for me, how do I do that? With my I guess I've always been a strong communicator and I've always been organized, a strong communicator, and very creative. And so how does that help me with my work-life balance? I know when I'm in a jam, like I don't, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And
Mm.
so I'm not afraid to delegate so that I have a better work-life balance. And I have delegated stuff like
Mm-hmm.
hiring web designers, hiring a VA to figure out my email stuff. The stuff I can't stand doing, I've hired copywriters because I can't stand writing emails. So I've not hesitated to hire people who are good at what they do to help me. And I guess because I have strong communication skills, I know exactly what I want and when I need it, and I can articulate that. Also creatively, you know, I always also show appreciation when I hire these people, because I always felt that if you show appreciation, people are going to work a little harder for you. One of the best things I had when I worked in corporate was I had this fantastic boss. She'd buy our team flowers and just to say thank you for what you're doing for my team. And let me tell you something. I know they were only like $10 flowers, but not only did it look great on your desk, it made me want to stay 2 hours more just to get my work done and make her look super good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess for me, with my strong skill set of communicating, being creative, and drawing, I guess if I know I'm in a pressure cooker with stress, with so many things going on, I will delegate out, and I don't hesitate to delegate out. Sometimes it can be challenging to figure out, well, who can get the job done in the way you want it done, but that's where you can communicate and join Facebook groups. I'm part of a few Facebook groups where I'll ask, hey, who do you know? Who do you know as a good copywriter? Who do you know as a good web person? And by joining Facebook groups, you get to know people and their expertise and communicate with them. And that's really helped me with my work-life balance, you know, because you can just give it to somebody, get that part done while I'm traveling overseas or doing something else. I don't have to worry about it. It's sort of like this peace of mind. So I'm really big on delegation. I think people are very afraid to delegate because we all are entrepreneurs and want to be in control of what we do. And that's totally fine. I get that. But one of the things I've been learning over the past few years is when you do delegate, you get more done for yourself. And it's also trial and error, you know, figuring out who you can work with, who you can't. But that's part of the whole lesson and the whole journey and the experience of being an entrepreneur. Now, in terms of drawing, sometimes I'll doodle out like what I want done or a project. Doodling, I'm a big advocate for doodling. Make sure you doodle and draw and
Definitely
get things done. And what I was just going to say also is I also believe in, just knowing what you want helps too. Really clarifying what your message is, what your goals are, and what do you need to achieve, whether it's monthly, weekly, or daily. And I go back to that 3 days, like 3 things per day. What 3 things do I have to get done today that's a priority? And then sometimes looking ahead, okay, next week I'm going to be traveling. So what do I need to get done now so that while I'm traveling, things are being done and are in the pipeline? Or who can I delegate that to get done? So I hope that answers your question, because I just believe in knowing what you want and then also not being afraid to ask for help. I think a lot of people are hesitant to ask for help, but it's so key to do that in order to get things done in a timely fashion.
And I think also that people, you have certain, just like you said, you have certain strengths with like doing the copy on emails. That may not be your exact strength.
I don't really like it. No.
So why not have somebody that is really good at it? That's what they, really excel at, and have them help you with it.
Exactly. And you'll be relieved, by delegating it out, getting people to help you. It's amazing how much more you can get done and focus on the things you do enjoy doing when you're, make a list. I love doing this in my business. I don't like doing this in my business. Make a list, like top 10 things you love about your business and you don't like. And then look at that list that you don't like and be like, okay, who do I know in what Facebook groups that I can maybe barter with or trade if you're really tight on funds?
Mm-hmm.
I've done that. Like I've drawn people in exchange for, some feedback on some copy or whatever. What can you trade, or like just do an introduction, like, hey, I'd love to offer you this. I've admired your work, and make sure you research these people ahead of time and compliment their work. Don't just do a one-off, because that doesn't help either. You want to build relationships with these people so that you won't hesitate to delegate. You'll get to know them, they'll get to know you, and it's a really nice exchange, or you can negotiate on a price that works for both of you.
Mm-hmm. And I love the idea of even going to the Facebook groups and, I promote networking in everything I do, whether it's a career search or in business, building a business. You have to network. And those Facebook groups have really helped people be able to network more efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. And I've built relationships through Facebook groups. I'm part of a few Facebook groups that I just absolutely love. And I've learned so much. And even just observing other people's issues and entrepreneurial struggles or wins, celebrating their wins as well. You learn so much by just observing what other entrepreneurs are going through. And even if you're in a different business field, you can still learn, So I've learned so much with the few Facebook groups that I'm part of, and definitely strongly encourage that to other entrepreneurs to get going on that, because you'll learn a lot, and you'll also get some really great colleagues that you can work with or collaborate with, or even like barter with, or even do business with. So there's definitely a big advantage to that for sure.
Definitely. So your background's really interesting. So how did you get started in becoming a caricature artist and storytelling coaching?
So I've always been drawing since I was a baby. My very first drawing, I was 18 months, and I guess I did a bunch of scribbles and lines, and I waddled up to my mother and said, "Big Bird." And my mom was like, this kid has something. So she saved the drawing, which is really cute. I should have made it to show you guys.
That's awesome.
I'll blog about it. But anyway, so long story short, I've always been drawing. It was like I was born with a pencil in my hand. And long story short, I was always drawing and talking out loud when I was a kid about stories, and just trying to find the right skin tone for you here, Staci. Bear with me here. So anyway, long story short, my mom knew I had this talent, and so she was an art teacher, and it comes from the gift comes from my maternal grandfather. He was very talented. I remember sitting on his lap, and he would draw these cowboys and Indians like that. And I was like, oh, I had an epiphany at 7, like, this is where it comes from, my grandfather. So my grandfather, Stanley. So anyway, long story short, I've developed this skill, and I've always encouraged kids, keep drawing, into adulthood, because people forget to do that. Life happens. And I made a conscientious choice at a young age that this was my passion. I was at an amusement park when I was 10 and fell in love with the caricature artists. And, my siblings would be pulling me, let's go on the rides. And I'd be like, no, I was just fascinated with people being drawn. And I realized it was combining my two passions. I love people because I'm an extroverted artist, and I love to draw. And so that's where the caricaturing came in. And when I was 18, a friend of mine from college actually dared me to do a county fair. And so at the time, I had like $100 to my name, and everything was very serendipitous. Sometimes when you make a decision, the universe will just fall into place for you, which I absolutely love when that happens. And so long story short, I took upon the dare, and that week I grossed, at 18 years old, $1,000 by just hustling people to come to my booth. And that was like the fun challenge. Like, I'd be like, people would not want to get drawn because people are very self-conscious about how they look. I get it. But I was like, no, you'll love this. And if you don't love it, you don't have to pay for it. So what do you have to lose, right? And I would sit them down and talk to them, and they'd be so busy talking about themselves, they would forget that they were being drawn. And so that's kind of how I got into it, because at the age of 18, I was like, oh, this could be a business, drawing people at corporate parties and events. And so that's kind of how I got started. And when I was a young lady in Chicago, I used to do all the street festivals and everything, and talking to people, and really just enjoyed it. And I would take breaks from here and there, because sometimes when you do something full time with your passion, it can be tiring. Got to pay the bills with my passion. It can be a lot. But long story short, that's just kind of how I got into caricaturing and drawing people and just talking to them and hearing their stories. And then in terms of the storytelling coach, when my husband and I moved to London, I noticed that the Canary Wharf Mall, Canary Wharf is this financial district in London, and they have a big mall. And I actually went to the managers of the mall and said, look, I know how to draw and entertain kids, and I would love to tell stories for the holiday season, drawing for the kids and getting them to interact and engage, because storytelling is all about engagement. And telling a good story. Who's the hero, what is the conflict in the story, and what's the resolution or the lesson. And I would teach kids, when I lived in London, cartooning workshops at schools, and I would do storytelling shows for the mall. For at least 4 years I did that. And storytelling is so powerful because we all have a story to tell. And one of the things I love helping people with is, what is your story? How do you articulate your story? How are you showing up with your story online or through your business? And what aspects of your story are you not sharing with people that maybe you do need to share? Because it's so easy to share a story once you went through A to Z. It's more challenging to share your story when you're in the middle of the story. And it's hard to share that, or even to be vulnerable. I still have a hard time being vulnerable online because, it's like, again, going back to that corporate culture that we talk about. Put on your professional face and your facade. And so that is something that I've learned a lot the last few years, I do think people will not remember a lecture, but they will remember a good story. And that's why I love watching like TED Talks or watching quick little stories on Facebook Live or video. And I loved drawing stories out for kids and all that too. So one of the things I do love doing is helping people tell their stories and share, either by drawing it out or drawing the person as a caricature, finding out more about that person and where their story was. And just, you find out more about the person and who they are. And it all kind of ties in together, storytelling, showcasing who you really are and what you're about and who you are to serve. And that's why I really am passionate about not only caricature work, but also storytelling too.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that, it's great to share the positive points of a story, but to also share where you got into the trenches and your weaknesses and how you overcame those and the struggles that you went through. And
it's hard because you don't want to be judged. You don't want to look like an idiot. You don't, it's very tough to be vulnerable and brave. And I've kind of gone through some stuff in my personal life that's been challenging, and I'm not quite ready to share that yet. And it's like, you need to be ready once you feel ready. And I think that's also why people are reluctant to share their stories online of hardships because it's easier to share that story once you've been through it. It's harder to share that story when you're in the midst of it. And I totally respect and understand that. But I also have to remind myself, think of the people you're helping. If you say, hey, I'm going through this too, who else is going through this? And when you're in the midst of those challenging times, you will find the right people to help you. It's amazing how God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, sends you the right people at the right time to help you with grace to get through those tough times.
Totally agree with you. And I think that being ready to, especially online in today's world, you have to be ready to share it and to be that open about what's happening or what happened.
Yeah, definitely. And besides being ready, just trusting yourself to be like, you know what? Okay, this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to share this quite yet, but maybe I can just share a tiny part of the story that can maybe help others. So you don't have to tell the whole thing, but maybe in the midst, you can share a little part of like, I'm having a bad day and this is why.
Exactly.
Maybe people are going to relate to that. Or if you're really excited about something, share why. So I'm a big advocate for storytelling, because it really is the human condition, telling and sharing stories. I found a good flesh tone for you, so I'm really happy. Like, where's that color? I need that color.
You have it. So you've been really generous today with your time, and you're also offering a free gift, 10 creative and fun ways to do your live streaming. So tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh. Okay. So being a creative person, I find that people struggle with ideas. Like, what am I going to do online? How am I going to share this? What do I even talk about? Who's going to want to hear my story? And so this ebook is a great little ebook to download. You can get it at cathynolan.com/free gift. And basically it'll give you some really great ideas on live streaming in terms of like what content to talk about. So I have like top 10 things of what you can do when you're live streaming, like what to talk about, because I feel like a lot of people run out of ideas, or they don't think about, how sharing your pet can also incorporate into your business. People love pets. Showcase your pet and talk about your business. There's ways you can do that. People love to hear stories. And so my little ebook helps you get ideas on what to talk about on live streaming. I do feel like people are always talking about business, but people are going to want to hear your creative side, and they're going to want to hear about like different aspects of yourself, because that is still part of your branding and who you are. So that's what I would highly recommend, is to download the free gift that I have for you. And any questions you may have, you can always email me at Cathy@CathyNolan.com. Also for storytelling coaching as well. And that is my free gift to everybody.
Fantastic. And I'll also, if you look below, you'll see the link to Cathy's free offer and her gift to you, and also her website. So I am so excited that you've been with us here today, and it's been such a pleasure. I've kind of been looking off of the camera a little bit to see what you're doing. So it may be
a tan here. So let me just fine tune this real quickly for our viewers. I am. Let me just. Oh, and you got that fantastic blue necklace here. So put that in there too. You look good in blue, Staci. You got a little more blue.
Thank you. Thank you. I like turquoise and blues. And purples too.
And there you are.
Oh, so fun. Thank you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for being with us here today. And I encourage everyone to download Cathy's free gift that's below, and look forward to seeing you in the summit. And Cathy, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Staci. It's been wonderful. Thank you.